to go and touch it, just because of what else a civet eats, which is all kinds of things. And their feces was described to me by Mr. Hendry as smelling a bit like goat. And there we go, exactly what I was looking for. Lots and lots. Okay, I've ended up touching it whether I want to or not. Lots of guari berry seeds and other such things. And those having passed through the digestive tract of a civet, not like the coffee beans that people pay tremendous amounts of money for in other parts of the world. You can't make any coffee, as far as I know, out of guari berry seeds. But they've also come with their own, basically their own manure kit as they get ready to germinate. And the civet, even better for those particular seeds, is that the civet will come through and keep depositing in its civetry, in its little latrine, regularly, not necessarily every single night, but certainly you could see there was different feces of different ages. So those seeds have a good chance of germinating around there. James is spot on, that's exactly what it smells like. It smells like goat. I was trying to figure it out on the bushwalk one day, and we were watching through it. We have meetings sort of twice a week where we discuss different things, and he was absolutely correct. It smells like goat. Alright, well, I don't know if Brent managed to top his pangolin sighting. I don't know if that is really possible to top its pangolin sighting, but let's see what else he's been up to.
So yeah, you can see the clouds are making for a beautiful sunset, and you see how yellow the light is compared to what it's been over the last while, and that's from that little bit of rain just settling the dust. So it was very difficult, but Dave and I managed to do a big loop around all the open plains before going back to where the pangolin was. So fingers crossed, really hoping we can get a slightly better view. It was a really quick view, so fingers crossed, everyone. I'm probably going to drive past here every day for the next year now, just on the off chance that we see it again. But I have, in certain parts, depending, you can see pangolins regularly in the same area. So I've been looking for pugnacious ants, which is what a pangolin eats, and we haven't been down here yet. So the pangolin might have been feeding on these short grass areas where pugnacious ants are likely to occur. So for James Richard, I am trying to find a pangolin track as well, but unfortunately that little bit of rain has made the ground quite hard. Okay, Dave, what do you reckon?
Let's have a look.
Hi Ben, Ben's 13 years old, and Ben's wondering, do pangolins have live babies or do they lay eggs? Well Ben, they are a mammal, so they have live babies, and they are warm-blooded. The keratin is what their scales are made out of, which is the same as our hair or our fingernails. So that's how they develop that. It's a modification of hair. It's hair that's evolved to be armor-plated. I'm literally looking under every bush. But I can't take all the credit. Dave is the one who spotted it. There we go. He says, "What is that? The live pangolin! Quickly, final control!" And I think I've driven the Kruger boundary a lot of times. It's the first actual sort of really exciting sighting we've had on the boundary. We've had tracks and we've had lots of other things, but no actual live animals. And we've had wildebeest, impala, buffalo. I think we've had elephants, but never something as exciting as a pangolin. So they can roll into this incredible ball and probably gets about this big. And that's their defense mechanism. And the edges of those scales are really sharp. I mean, they can cut you if you try and pick them up or move them around. Yeah, we're in pangolin country, Dave. Looking left, looking right, looking left, looking right. It could have moved. All this area is really good for it to feed. Those particular ants are very fond of open ground. They are quite terrible creatures. They're called pugnacious ants. The obvious reason that they are very pugnacious, and they tend to maul you. So he was around here. Just check. You never know, he might have come back. He might have gone that way. I'm not seeing anything there. I mean, the timing was just so incredibly lucky. There's no other way to describe it. We have all the luck today. I mean, Karula this morning, pangolin this evening. Who knows, maybe there's another pangolin around. We could, I mean, we've got one, we might as well try to spoil ourselves with two. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing it. It doesn't look like it was where it was. But what we can do is I'm just going to pull off the road here quickly and I'll show you some images of the pangolin. Okay. Disappearing pangolin. Okay, so it wasn't the best view. We did just sort of see the tail end as they disappeared. And there I was telling you about how they roll into a defensive ball. It's not the best picture, it's a little bit pixelated, but there we go. You can see there's the defensive posture. And there's a closer look at the scales. And the foot. Now look at those claws, and they use that to dig out the ants. And there goes the picture. There's a better picture somewhere here. Oh, it's a very old picture from 1910 in Tanzania. And there we go. It's quite difficult to get good pictures of them. I mean, they're very strange looking little creatures. So there we go. And this one is the ground pangolin, or the Temix pangolin is the old name. As I said, they are on the threatened list due to trade in the scales for love charms. And there was actually, I was having a quick look there was something else. And they were, that they were used for. And the meat is also a delicacy in Vietnam and China. The blood is believed to be a healing tonic, and fetuses have alleged health and aphrodisiac properties. Very scary, but very, very sad. Fortunately, in this part of the world they are quite well protected, and there isn't too much trade. In other parts of Africa, especially in the forest basin, the pangolins, they are under a lot bigger threat than our pangolins here. But I wish we could show you more, but unfortunately that pangolin has done a disappearing act. And if you've got any screenshots of that pangolin, pop them up on our Facebook page, on Twitter, and hashtag Safari Live. And if any of you are new and wondering about and want to know anything specific about the pangolin, pop me an email on questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And for anyone who's new and just joined, my name's Brent Leo Smith, and I'm your safari guide out in the live African, or in the African bush, and we are live. and my cameraman is Dave, and we're on top of the world because we found the first pangolin ever on Safari Live. I'm quite sure Commander Bond, James Henry, is muttering away to himself on the beach somewhere. I won't lie. I may or may not have already sent him a picture of it. So James Richard was looking for tracks. Unfortunately, this hard ground, I haven't been able to find any tracks, James. I still half expect to see the little guy scurrying along. We might do one more, dude. Just one more. So while we throw caution to the wind and do one last loop for pangolin, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
In the hope that that one last loop will pay off, well, he goes searching for that pangolin once again. We're going to go and do one last loop around Mpugu and Galago, see if the lions have not decided to come out. From what I can hear from the update about those tracks, it was a male and a female, so probably a mating pair, quite possibly, well most likely, one of the Birmingham boys and one of the Nkuhumas. So the pride of lionesses, this is part of their territory, and then the Birmingham boys that are dominant over them, and the Styx pride, and possibly even other prides that we are not aware of. We're going to head across in that direction and see whether or not they've decided to pop out there. We'll go past the Vuatela Dam, so the one outside Galago, just to investigate whether or not there's any sign of them coming for a drink. I think, however, it's most likely that they would go through to that Galago pan. Now within that block there's a network of drainage lines that crisscross all the way through, and that's one of their absolute favorite places to hang out. And in fact, I was secretly hoping that pregnant Nkuhuma lioness might decide to have her cubs there. It's the perfect hiding spot. It's a place where Karula very often apparently liked to have her cubs. And there was some very playful banter on the Game Drive channel while you were with Brent about the age of those particular tracks. We were talking about the rain and how they help to age tracks. Well, there was a disagreement between two of the guides as to exactly how old those tracks were, with one exclaiming that the tracks were so old that those lions could be in Skukuza, which is the main camp in the Kruger National Park and is probably about, I don't know, about 40 kilometers away in a straight line, just under 20 odd miles, whilst the other protesting that this was not in fact the case and that those tracks were fresh from after the rain. So there was a great deal of chuckling and bantering going forth. These are the boys that one wants to look out for in weather like this. First of all, they're exhibiting all of the signs of nervousness on a windy day, but they're also very difficult to hear. Pushing through, disrupting the drongo, and waddling off. Typically, you generally hear buffalo bulls before you see them. Sometimes you can smell them, but it's the oxpeckers that give them away. But as I said, on these windy days, not always that easy. And as we come through in this beautiful sort of evening light, you've got more zebra. We're not going to linger for too long with them, I don't think. We'll see if we can't get to where those lion tracks last were before we lose too much light. Two little ones. The second herd obviously is split away from the herd we saw at Impala Plains. We're having a good snuffle around. The one on the left looks particularly rotund, even for a zebra, and I suspect that might be, in fact I'm relatively certain, that's due to pregnancy, just from the way that she's waddling along. I say even for a zebra, of course, because all zebra have round barrel-like bellies. Yeah, I said we're not going to linger for too long. It's just because I want to get to, it's the perfect time if there are lions hiding out and about. Oh my goodness, try and get my hair under control. It's the perfect time of day on a chilly evening, windy evening for them to be wandering about. Oh, but we are going to stop for animals that are truly not appreciating this weather. Dwarf mongoose feeling very cold and sorry for themselves. And it's almost bedtime. Most of them dashing for the safety of their termite mound burrow. Yep. Today is definitely not a day to linger outside. Is that the antenna? That's incredible. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but the antenna of our vehicle, I think, is acting like a wind flute. And as the wind blows across it, just like you do with a bottle, when you blow across the bottle and it makes those noises, we've got it at exactly the right angle that it's blowing gently. Can you hear that? It's making music. It's gently whistling to us. Maybe it's making a magic call to attract leopards. Maybe we should sit in this position and wait for it to call them to us. It feels like some kind of mystical sound, mystical tune that Wendy's playing. Maybe it's an anti-gremlin song. That's interesting. That's a first for me. Must have been exactly the right angle that we parked at. Playing us musical tunes to accompany the evening. Wow. Wendy is now singing to us. And I do have to wonder whether or not this is going to mean more rain, or if it's just the tail end of the cold front. Oh, everybody hold on to your seats. Humpy bumpy. Oh, no, Wendy. Up we go. And there we have another one of the trees we were talking about earlier as we slowly go underneath this gorgeous jackalberry tree. We chatted about its seed dispersal methods earlier, and maybe with those baboon troops around we might be seeing more and more of them hanging about close. That would be a perfect place for a baboon to hide. There's a little antelope in there that we hardly ever get to see, just poking its head out. Can you see the bushbuck there, Liam? Hiding in that drainage line, just on the wall. There it is. Maybe a little bit down to the left. I'm just trying to see from your perspective. Oh, you got him. There you go. This is for James Richard, who was asking about bushbuck, or asking to see bushbuck. There you go. Hands down, I think, my favorite antelope in this area. They are just such gorgeous little things. Liam had a couple living outside his bedroom at one point. Are they still there, Liam? They still come back? Oh, there's elephants living there now. Ah, they've chased the bushbuck away. A little bushbuck female with that beautiful pattern of dots, almost like a constellation of stars. on their fur, and that rich ochre colour of their fur around them. Very pretty, very delicate little antelope, and just the hint of the stripes that sort of are a throwback to at the time when Bushbuck, Nyala and Kudu had common ancestors. Lovely. Well, James Richard, I hope you were watching and that you got your little bushbuck sighting. Another antelope that will spend a lot of time in these drainage lines or river systems, basically like a creek system, and feed on the fruits and the berries and whatever else happens to be around them. Well, Sabrina, we were talking about seed distribution or seed dispersal, and you were wondering if there are any animal that might disperse seeds with their feet. And yes, absolutely. So Brent was showing you, or Sabrina, I'm not sure if you were watching yesterday's sunset safari, but in Brent's brief wonder about quarantine, he was talking about a plant called the devil thorn. It's got two very, very sharp prongs. There's a large devil thorn and a smaller devil thorn. They've got very, very sharp prongs, and every South African child is most familiar with the devil thorn, as well as little plants called devilkies, little devils, and they are specifically adapted for dispersal on an animal's foot. Even an elephant's foot is not impervious to them, and the reason is that they don't necessarily pierce the skin of the elephant, but they're sharp enough to just get into that first layer of skin cells. Well, for us it's a different story because they are sharp enough to pierce the few layers of skin on our feet. And every South African child has memories of plucking devilkies out of your feet and trying to scrape them out when they left little bits behind. But those are types of plants that are adapted to be stood on and then dispersed in that method. Now, another clever little method plants have come up with. I'll never ever forget the face of one incredulous volunteer when we took him out to help us clear the roads once, and he was just incredibly surprised and somewhat personally affronted that every tree in South Africa seemed to have thorns. He was most upset. But of course, there's a whole wide range of adaptations or adaptions that the plants have to utilize in response to being fed upon. And yet they don't work. Maybe they do in terms of deterring some of the smaller species of antelope, but a buffalo thorn, a sickle bush, anything with those really spiky, horrible thorns, and knob thorn. We've spoken so much about the fact that a giraffe or an elephant doesn't seem to even notice the fact that what they're eating has thorns or spines or anything of the sort. We're going to search for the tawny cats that are hiding somewhere in this block. In the meantime, in continuation of the theme of this sunset safari, Brent has found you another elephant.
Found a small breeding herd of ellies. And it looks like that same unrelaxed bull we saw a little bit earlier at the pan, and another bigger bull just behind him have joined up with this little breeding herd. Oh, there could be some more in the bush that we're not seeing. They're slowly moving out into this big open area. It looks very much like the bull we saw a bit earlier. Chikra from India is wondering, how do you read an elephant's body language? Well, with African elephants, a lot of it is just, I suppose, a lot of it's instinct and time spent with the animals. So there's slight little things. You just see their muscles stiffen. The tail's a very good indicator. If the tail becomes rigid or pointed, it means the animal is upset or highly alert. So you can see we've stopped quite far away from these eddies, and you can see the tails are hanging loosely, and they are in no means worried about us. Feeding off a baby leadwood there. Hi, Gracie. Gracie said she had a sad dream about the eddies last night and cried a lot. So she's very happy to see them today, to see that they're okay. And you can see Gracie, there's the little one. He's happy. Maybe he's a bit cold in this wind, but you can see the eddies are all fine and all good. We won't go any closer in this wind. They can be a little bit unpredictable. At the moment this herd looks very relaxed, but still they also are mobile north across into Nkoro, but we will stay with them as long as we can. There's that young bull. I'm pretty sure he looks like the same bull we saw at the pan earlier. And he's probably a lot more relaxed this time because we've come from downwind, so he's heard us coming. I think the reason he got a fright when we arrived at the pan last time is we were coming from upwind of him and the wind's very strong, so he probably didn't hear us arriving. Hello, little one. So even though it's still very much reliant on mom's milk, already feeding on vegetable matter, and you can see this young bull. It'll be interesting to see what happens here when he feeds or decides to annoy the breeding herd. It looked like he might annoy them a bit earlier, but I think he's more focused on getting a good meal. I don't know if you guys can hear that wind buffeting. Really cold wind coming from the south. Well, they're going to disappear shortly, heading slowly north. So we're going to leave those ellies as they move further into Nkoro. And I just want to have a quick check along the northern edge of Cheetah Plains. Maybe Mr. Q is going to pop in for a visit. I'm still so excited about that pangolin. Hopefully we can get a better view in the coming winter months. So this is the area quarantine's been moving in and out of. Aaron wants to know if I have one great single memory that stands out from my years in the bush. Definitely not one, but thousands, Aaron. I think probably the most poignant memory, and probably the one that set me on the course I've been on most of my life, is my first memory. I thought I saw something on top of that termite mound. Yep. And it is my first memory. I was about 2 years old, and we were up in northern Botswana, and my parents, grandparents and friends of theirs we'd stopped at a waterhole, and I think it was either Chobe or Maremi National Park in the vast Mapani forests. And me being me, turn your back for 2 seconds and I'm gone at that age. And they sort of turned around and they'd stopped, and there was a big elephant bull, a massive elephant bull, having a drink at the pan. And my dad turned around and noticed there I was, about 4 meters from the elephant, having a conversation in gibberish, of course, at the elephant. Wow, 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 wow. And I just remember that elephant. And it's probably because I got hiding afterwards that my dad managed to walk very calmly up to this big bull elephant, pick up his 2-year-old child and walk away. Eddie didn't do anything. I got a smack for being naughty, and that's probably my first memory, and it probably has a lot to do with where and how I've ended up now and what I've done over the last however many years in the bush. Always have a soft spot for those big Eddie bulls. And even as an adult, I've had many conversations on foot with elephants since. Ooh, I think it's time, Dave. It's time for the gloves. It is bitterly cold this evening, but who cares? We saw pangolin. I'm sure there's going to be much jealousy back at camp. Dave, I think we should maybe walk out a pangolin dance. We dance back into the camp.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So we're now still on a high from the pangolin, of course, but now we're hoping for a bit of leopard luck. And we just keep missing quarantine when he's in this area. I'm hoping this evening will be a bit different.
And for bad hips, so maybe better tone down his dancing style ever so slightly. Although I have to say I'd like to see what a Pangolin Waltz really does look like. Oh, well, Brent plans his dance steps, which could be very highly entertaining. I'll try and record it for you all so you get to see it. We've been searching high and low for these lions. No sign of them here. There's a big herd of elephants hanging about. They are right in the middle of the block, so we can't see them, but there's always a chance that they could flush out a mating pair of lions. In the meantime, we're going to take advantage. We're going to drive a little bit faster. We're going to take advantage of the last few moments of light and see if the hyenas aren't home. Haven't seen them in a while now. And if we can't depend on the leopards and the lions to be in one place, well, fingers crossed our hyenas will be kind to us this afternoon. Oh, we're racing the sunset here though. I don't want to go too fast in case I miss lion tracks popping out. of course, we've still got the darkness to look forward to, and who knows, we could waltz in doing a caracal dance or an aardvark dance. Might not be quite a pangolin dance, but it will certainly come in at a very close second. Viv says he'll settle for a leopard dance. I'll find you a leopard at some point, Viv, I promise. They've been shy recently, very camera shy. I feel like I haven't seen Tingana, the dominant male in this area, for a very long time. Oh, this wind is cutting through several layers of jackets. Absolutely freezing. Alright, first hyena den? Nope. Luckily we can see this one from the road. Doesn't look like there's anybody home. We can't linger. We have to race light. And then we'll go back again to where the lions were and see if we can't find them there as it gets dark. Francolins are calling very, very close to the hyena den. That's interesting. If you want to go searching of wild dog puppies and francolins in very close proximity to each other. It's not looking... It doesn't look like anybody is home. Interesting question from Lael in Washington, and giving me a little bit of background, interesting background into stuff that happens, or the legality in the US of keeping bird feathers, and apparently only Native Americans can keep the feathers of eagles. And she was wondering whether or not there are any laws in South Africa to prevent the shooting of birds or the collecting of feathers. Ah, there is somebody home. Goodness. Completely hidden there. Hello. What have we got here? Lael, let me just finish off your question before we start chatting about the hyena. Oops, I haven't taken my foot off the brake. Lael, there are protected bird species. The endangered species are protected by law. I'm sorry. Went down, so we do apologize for that. We're still here for the last few moments of our sunset safari as the wind gusts and howls and the evening draws in, and so do the clouds actually. We might even be seeing more rain before the start of the sunrise safari tomorrow morning. For those of you who were watching or are watching the Djuma Dam cam to keep you company whilst we were offline, you will be seeing a herd of elephants making their way to go and have a drink. Them and myself were just enjoying an exceptionally peaceful sighting from the dam wall, just watching them walk across, basically just silhouettes in this evening light. There's some, distraction. There's actually something there. We're going to go up this road just to investigate. I think it might have been a bushveld gerbil. It was very far away and it was very fast. We're going to go double check anyway. But yes, we were just watching them. There were just grey shadows in this very gentle light. And we could just hear the scuffing of the elephant's feet as they moved along. Sort of really soft sound. It's always incredible just how quiet an elephant can be while they walk. But it was a beautiful, gentle way to spend the rest of a Thursday evening. At least I assume it is Thursday. I'm relatively certain it is. Yay, it is Thursday, apparently. You know me in my days of the week. It's not really terribly important in my life. We don't have weekends necessarily, and the only thing that really tells me where I am in a week is fireside chat, if we do it on a Sunday evening. Just double checking really carefully to see what ran through here. It was very far away and I only caught a glimpse of its eyes shining. And it looked roughly the size of something very small, probably a Bushveld gerbil. Oh yes, for those of you who have stayed on board with us in the hope that the stream would come up, thank you. And there's still time yet for you to be surprised by some unexpected sighting. We've already had a pangolin this afternoon, which makes for one special, very memorable moment on our live safaris. Really, truly exciting, and I hope that for those of you who are watching it was as special a moment as it would have been for Brent and for Dave. Oh, we were with the hyena, by the way, when we lost you. Just thinking about what you missed out on. Pretty went and called at the entrance to the den, and November and one of the December twins, I couldn't see which one it was, but they both popped their heads out, two little cubs. And eventually, unfortunately, before the stream could come up, the light got a little bit low, and it was time for us to leave them to go about their evening business. But to be honest, on a night like tonight, the little hyena cubs were highly reluctant. They didn't even fully come out of the den itself. They just lingered around the entrance for a while and lay down and hung about there. It's cold for them. It's cold and it's windy and it's just not very pleasant. It's unusual to see hyena cubs out and about in this kind of weather. And then Pretty wandered off towards the north, towards the property known as Buffelshoek. I don't know what she's up to, but she was looking relatively empty-bellied. I think off in search of whatever food she can find there. I've gone back to where the lion tracks were last seen, and I've triple checked around there. They haven't come out of the block as far as we can tell. They're still in there, quite possibly mating. Is a very, very big block, so impossible for us to be able to penetrate and get into at this sort of level of light. And we were also hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, that we would be able to see Karula and that she might decide to come back to Djuma. And Alice, just a quick question that's come through from you. You wanted to know why it is that we think Karula is a better mother than Shadow. And it's an interesting one. It's a question that we've had debates about as presenters ourselves. I have suggested that I don't necessarily think that Shadow is a bad mother. She might be a bit weaker than Karula, which makes hoisting her kills harder. But we cannot deny the statistics. I certainly cannot deny the statistics. I've always found it hard to label Shadow as a bad mother, but maybe we should just label Karula as an exceptional mother, rather. I don't really know exactly what the answer is there. Karula does seem to have an exceptional talent for it. James and Brent both have suggested... Oh, sorry, never mind. Brent has found you a bird.
Look at this. The ruler of the nocturnal skies. Well, it's a spotted eagle owl, the second biggest owl species we get here. Look at that, isn't that? Oh, hopping a little higher. Now, if you are a rodent, this is a fearsome beast. I'm sorry, yeah. Just move the spotlight a bit there, and it's just there we go. Very, very beautiful birds. So he's out after rodents, nocturnal snakes. Oh, looks like he's about to depart us. Oh, maybe not just yet. And you can see how strong the wind is. See those tufts that help enhance the owl's hearing. Oh, so windy. And welcome back. Sorry about our little disappearance, but we are back with a beautiful spotted eagle owl. Very alert. If I was a mouse, I wouldn't be happy at the moment. Now, culturally, there's quite a lot of African folklore about owls, like a lot of nocturnal creatures, and sometimes seen in a negative light. So, in Tanzania, if an owl lands on your roof, it means a family member's going to die. Of course, this is not true. So they have been persecuted in certain parts of Africa. Also quite often connected to witchcraft. Very, very different from the European's wise old owl. I'm trying to remember which children's book had the wise old owl. To-wit, to-woo, I see you. Do you remember, Dave?
I don't.
Incredibly adapted for nighttime hunting. They pale around the eyes, catches any ambient light. Those tufts of feathers that stick up to help with the ears, to help hearing, to garner any little sound around. And of course, something that's very important with all predators, patience. As we get deeper into the dry season, it's not only the little critters we're going to start seeing, but I'm really hoping we're going to see quite a few more owls, including one of my favorites. It's much smaller than this guy. It's called a white-faced scops owl. I have seen them before here on Djuma, but never on a live drive. The only owls, I think the white-faced scops is one of the ones we're missing. So we've put spotted eagle owl, Verreaux's eagle owl, scops, barred, pearl spotted. So out of the owl species, for me to show live, I think it's white-faced scops and wood owl are the two missing. There is a possibility we might get grass owls here. Oh, and a barn owl we're missing. Absolutely exquisite. Oh, sounds like we're not alone. There's an elephant crushing around. So we're going to leave this owl and we're going to have a chat, which I think is going to excite lots of people. And I won't lie, I'm very surprised when I found out this information. But a lot of you will be very happy to know that Sindila has been released into the Sabi Sands again. We were only notified today, and we do not know his location. So there is always a possibility he might come for a meander around his own stomping grounds. He does have a satellite tracking collar, a special one that is designed for young animals that are growing. So it's got a pop-off mechanism, so after a certain amount of time it's just going to drop off, and it's a very interesting study taking place. This is the first time a wild leopard that has been exposed to rabies, or a rabies positive dog, has gone through a full quarantine and been re-released. Normally under most law, an animal that has been exposed to another rabid animal is destroyed on sight. So this is really groundbreaking stuff, and of course I think they have to keep it quite hush-hush for a while, but I know lots of you will be very excited to know that young Sindalai is again roaming the Sabi Sands Game Reserve. But that is exciting news. But Dave and I are still on a high. We're trying to think how we're going to do our little pangolin dance. And don't worry, Jamie's worried I might hurt my hip. So I think we'll just do this, hey Dave? Yeah. We'll just come in doing a little pangolin dance into the DRC, and there will be, because of the pangolin, we will have a Facebook Live catch up tonight. So a pangolin themed Facebook Live. Give us about 20 minutes or so and we will be on. And don't forget, we'll be out early, and hopefully it's not so cold and windy in the early morning, but we'll be out in a few short hours, so don't forget to join us for the sunrise safari for all the wonderful African creatures that we might find. Toodles!